Good Sunday, everybody. Oh, well, let me get me better on screen here. Oh my gosh, this looks so funny. Hello, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Please remember to hit the thumbs up. Welcome to episode 23 of the Breaking Chains Book Club, where we are reading This Is Our Story by Wendi Adelson ahead of Donna Adelson's trial, which is scheduled to start. Hello, Shauna M, which is scheduled to start in June. Let me welcome my beautiful, wonderful co-reader, Cinnamon Girl, who has a new profile picture. Very cute.
Oh, thank you. I decided to update it. The one I had before was several years old, and
Uh-huh.
actually, I had it done by AI. Can you believe that?
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah, it looked, quite a bit like me, but this is like very recent, so
Well,
I'm in the real here.
the one you're looking at of me is also old, but I literally I have not taken a maybe I should like take a screen grab from when I've been on camera in the last couple of years, but I honestly don't care. You know what I
I
mean?
know I don't care either. That's exactly how I feel. I just don't care anymore.
I mean, this is like a profile picture that I used on Smule.
Oh, really?
Yes, my singing
Um,
app.
for your music stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it. Yeah,
Just kind of worked with the color theme for this channel. In
I
all
like it.
honesty, I mean, I may change it at some point, but anyway,
Well, I can
I
go to black and white if you'd like me to.
oh no, 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 no. No, 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 no. It's so we are here to continue reading the Wendi Adelson book, but also in case you all haven't seen, I did write an open letter to Lori Vallow just to get some of my pent up feelings out to her.
So
Um,
good. It was so good.
oh, thank you. Yes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Thank you very much, Mary F. and Poppin. Please, everybody, remember to hit the thumbs up. Hello, catering wench. So I put that letter out. Also, so her opening arguments are scheduled to start tomorrow. I will be definitely watching. Um, just to give you all a little taste of what we can expect from her and her whiny ass. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. One of the reasons I've decided not to stream this is because I don't know if I can take it. I don't know if I can take it in real time while streaming it. She is so infuriating as a human being. It like she is so hey OG fish. Like yeah, that's true. Wendi should be next in getting arrested and tried. But anyway, Lori is so infuriating. She's one of those people. I posted a saying on my channel about victims and how they just the cult of victimhood, how they just are viciously vicious to people and then they turn around and become victims. That is just Lori Vallow to a T. And here she is. She has decided to represent herself, but just be a victim throughout. I'm going to represent myself, so it's the Lori show, but now I'm going to whine and cry because I'm incarcerated and I can't, do the whole judicial process because I'm incarcerated because I murdered people. Oh my God. Like it's just too much. But here's just a little taste of what we're in for, when the trial starts tomorrow.
Trying to say, okay, if you want your speedy trial, guess what? We're not going to let you defend yourself. Guess what? You can't have any experts. And guess what else? You can't have any witnesses. You can't have anybody speak in your behalf. So good luck. Have a nice day.
That's Lori Vallow.
Poor little baby. Poor little Lori. Because what she was whining about there is that, she's trying to get phone extractions through an expert witness, and they say, well, it takes months and months and months and months and months for that to happen, but you have not waived your speedy trial. So what do you want? Do you want to waive your your right to a speedy trial, or do you want the phone extractions? And she's like, nope, I want my speedy trial. Well, sorry, you can't get the expert with the phone extractions. Sorry. And now she's whining about it. That is just quintessential fucking Lori all through life, up to and including using her religion to kill her children and her family. You know what I mean? It's just, that's why it's so fucking infuriating. It's such a mind fuck to be dealing with this woman, to observing this woman and knowing what she did to people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be really interesting because this case has been so widely broadcasted, and the media's picked it up. I always wondered, like, how in the heck did they find a jury that didn't know anything about Lori Vallow or any of the the goings-ons that her husband. I mean, it's been in headlines for quite some time. So, and
well, I don't think it was quite as prominent in Arizona, which is where this is.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I mean, maybe a lot of them do know about it, but they just, aren't as biased. They were able to get, through the questions about bias,
Right.
like
Right.
that. But it is a heavily skewed toward men. It's 13 men and 3 women.
I heard that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, which is interesting because she's pretty skilled with playing to men. I mean,
For sure. Yeah.
we
She's
have
going to be sitting in her chair flirting with all of them.
yeah.
You know.
However, it is a man who is the victim. In this particular case, it's a man who is the victim. So maybe they'll feel some sort of a allegiance to that, and then after this trial, she'll have the trial about the attempted murder of Brandon Boudreaux, her niece's ex-husband. So
Right.
It won't even be over after this trial, which is crazy to me because it's been so long that this woman has been going through the judicial process and she's guilty everywhere she goes, but she's still sitting there acting like she's the victim. And it's just unbelievable to me that she thinks she can defend herself in this trial.
Is she saying now that was it Tylee is the daughter's name, right?
Yeah.
That she actually, that it was an accident, and that the son died, and the daughter felt so bad that she took her own.
I haven't heard that part. In terms of the whole Charles Vallow part piece, they're claiming that it was self-defense, and they were that Alex was defending Tylee because Charles came
Right
and was attacking Tylee and Alex with a bat, which is complete bullshit. I mean, it's just complete bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that they'll be able to do a whole reenactment and show what it absolute bullshit it all is. And Tylee did a police interview afterwards, and I'm not sure if they'll bring that into evidence or not. I don't know. I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see how it all comes down. But I'll be watching, and I'm not sure if I'll go live or if I'll do videos or how I will. I do want to give updates on my channel. I'm just not sure how I'll do it or if I will. I got to be honest with you guys. Hey, Rowena, she actually is the pure definition of that. Sometimes when I don't do a video about a case, it's because it has just affected me too much. And I apologize for that. I do apologize for that, but that is why. It's just like Like one case that I would really love to dive into more, and it just I haven't because it's hurt me too much, is Maddie Soto. It just gets me too much. It's so sinister and dark and disgusting what that man did to that little girl. And just hearing him talk about it and things like that, so I just want people to know I really do look at all kinds of cases. Yeah. And this one, I just have followed it for so long, I've grown a little bit of a thicker skin about it, but it's still like I want to cry every time I look at it. So yeah, it's so much. But anyway, and so that's one of the reasons I kind of pivot onto legal stuff with cases, because by the time it gets into the courts and into the legal stuff, it's a little easier to handle, and more, and there's legal stuff to think about. You know what I mean?
Right. And you're so good at it.
Oh, well, thank you. Too much.
You are.
Too much exposure. All right. So here we are. Oh, wait a minute. Did I get onto the wrong story? I know it looks like I kind of, weren't we on chapter 3, Lily Walker Stone? Yeah.
I think, yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's where we stopped, right?
That's right. That's right.
Chapter 3, Lily Walker Stone.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Okay. So why don't you start, since I started last time, and I'm going to get this, and I just want to, you share a birthday with Maddie Stone? Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Well, I don't want to ask for your birthday right now. That's kind of doxing. I don't like to ask people personal information in the chat, but anyway, that is, it feels personal, doesn't it? What One-Eyed Flo? I understand that. Oh, so it just passed not too long ago. Anyway, so let us start reading. I will turn the page.
Okay, here we go. Chapter 3, Lily, whatever her name was.
Lily Walker Stone.
Lily Walker Stone. Okay. Sometimes falling in love means doing things you wouldn't otherwise do when sober. I can think of no other explanation for all the ways that I have somehow agreed to change my life since I met Joshua Stone. I have no other reason to explain how I ended up in Van Buren County, Florida, smack dab in the Florida Panhandle. For one, I now say things like smack dab. Suffice it to say, I'm not the Lily of yesteryear. I am a new Lily.
I think we did read.
Did we do this already? It feels like we did, right? Because the smack dab, yeah.
Yeah, we did the smack dab. I know we stopped on, okay. Is it, no,
Maybe,
we did Rosa.
We did Rosa, yeah.
Sorry about that. Okay. Chapter 6, Lily. We did Lily, right? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay. We did this part. Transitions. Chapter 7. I'm sorry, you guys. I don't know how it changed the page. So let me just go back and look real quick at my last live, and just make sure that we're not repeating things. I just want to make sure, you guys. I'm sorry. One moment. And since I don't have premium on this channel, I have to get past the ad.
Of course you do.
Let's see. So we were on chapter 4, Rosa. Yep. That's where we were. Chapter 4, Rosa. Okay. Sorry about that, everybody. Chapter 4, Rosa. All right.
Okay. All right. Chapter 4, Rosa, December 1st, 2004. Querida Diary. You are not going to believe this, but Senora Cuenca chose me. Didn't we read this? She chose me and Anna out of the whole class of 32 students. She chose us. I think it's because of our essays.
Shit, yes. I chose the wrong live to look at. You guys, thank you for becoming a member, Jinx. Oh my God, I'm such a mess.
We're usually a little more organized than this.
We're
Chat.
usually much more organized. That's what I did. I looked at the wrong live. Wait, no, I couldn't.
No, you couldn't because we only did one, right? With this story.
Yeah.
I don't.
How the hell did this happen?
I don't know. Wait, let me
look. I swear to God. Yeah, let's see. We're on in this live, we're on page location 241. Okay, where are we here?
245, but okay.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Jinx, for gifting the memberships. That's really awesome. In the middle of having a total breakdown in terms of where we are. So in the last live, we were at 241. Did I say?
Yes, but I think we went past this.
That's so weird.
I know. Let's see. I'm looking at it on my Kindle as well.
You know what? Maybe it's, what happens sometimes is let's see. I've just turned to chapter 4, Rosa, on the table of contents. Well, I guess we're just going to have to read from here.
Okay. Even if we've already done it, we can do that.
Are you? How could that happen? I mean, how could this happen? Well, I'm so confused because we haven't done another reading of this, and we didn't. What happened?
I don't know.
I'm so confused. Anybody in the chat? Thank you, Jinx. That's so sweet. That is so sweet of you.
Let me see. I'm gonna go to. You looked at your last live, right? And it said that we left off there. That is so weird. That's weird.
I mean, okay, wait. I'll actually show it to you. I'm gonna show it to you here, and then you guys can tell me if I'm totally just see. This is the end of the live, right? Very end of the live, right? Look, I'll even play it. Have her have a fair trial, but fuck her. I'm sorry if anybody doesn't like that opinion, but that's how I feel.
She's not very likable, is all I have to say.
41,
in general, she's just not very likable, and a lot of it has to do with her attitude and what she's done.
See.
Well, we can just read from here.
Okay.
We'll just and even if it's repeated, we have some new people here, so
I don't think I'm. Maybe it'll make sense soon enough.
We'll get
maybe the book is the one that's mistaken. Who knows?
Who knows? It's okay. All right. So let's do this again. All right. You are not going to believe this, but Senora Cuenca chose me. She chose me and Anna out of the whole class of 32 students. She chose us. I think it's because of our essays. We were asked to write about why we want to work and study in the United States of America. I wrote how I need to take care of mommy and my sister now that my dad is gone to heaven.
Sorry, I was typing thanks for bearing with us in the chat. Go ahead.
And how it would make our lives easier if I could go to America and learn a skill and bring money home.
I've always been the best in my class in writing, and well, I helped Anna write her essay to Senora Cuenca as well. I wrote hers about the flora and fauna of Florida. One of the tourists once dropped a guidebook on Florida, and I learned a good bit about Floridian wildlife from reading the captions under the pictures and translating the English with a Spanish English dictionary and at the Jujuy library. Is that wrong? I wonder if it was unfair to write Anna's essay for her since we got picked over her over the other students, but everyone else here reads off each other's papers and works on problems together, so it seemed okay to write something for my best friend so we could have an adventure together, right? Anna is a lousy writer and never would have made it otherwise. I just had to help her and we had to go. Maria is going to be so, 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 so jealous. Maybe it was wrong, but anyway, I did it and it's done and we were selected. There was so much to do over the next month. Senora Cuenca wants us to move into her home by the beginning of January so we can get used to life in the US and the restaurant before school starts again for the spring term. Anna and I are going to celebrate Christmas with our families and then off we go to Florida. Mommy is going to make some nice skirts and tops for me and for my present for La Navidad, and then I will have nice things to wear in America.
Once I am there, I will have lots of money and I can buy store-bought clothes for Mommy and me, and maybe Maria too, if I have enough left over. I mean, it's okay that I wrote Anna's essay so we could win together, right? I hope Jesus forgives me. I know it's a sin to lie, and I am a good girl, but I almost never do anything bad. But diary, you know that I tell you all of my thoughts, good and bad, because I don't want the rest of the world to know about what I did. Please forgive me, Jesus, for I have sinned. I am usually not a sinner, as you know, and I will try to make it up to you by honoring my mother and my papi in heaven when in America. I will try so hard at school, and I will be the best girl when I am with Senora Cuenca. And I will work very hard in the restaurant, and I won't spend any money on myself. Everything will go home to take care of Mommy and Maria, so Mommy won't have to work so hard. I promise I will redeem myself in America. Amen, Rosa. Chapter 5, Mila. I need to get the hell out of Bratislava. I don't want to end up like my mom. Don't get me wrong. I love her, and I know she's going to do the best she can. It's just that I see her, and I think, wow, is this it? Sometimes I wonder whether it would be better just not to know, you know?
I wish that I wouldn't meet so many tourists or see movies from the US or read magazines or anything. Then really think I could be happy with what I have instead of wishing I were somewhere else, living a different life. I mean, I get it. I'm almost 18 years old already, not a child anymore. I've lived enough years and seen enough things to know that things aren't always what they seem. I know that life anywhere isn't like what you see in the movies. Still, I can't help but think if I just made a change, a big change, to somewhere better than here, that things would turn out different and better for me than they did for my mom. I have a new guy in my life, Merrick. He came to the restaurant about a month ago, one Thursday evening, and nervously ordered coffee after coffee until the place closed and then left a hefty tip and his number on a napkin. I took the tip, but I never called. He came back about 3 weeks ago and repeated the same coffee overdose, except this time we started to talk. Out of total boredom, I went home with him that night. Now we're seeing each other. He's like everything else here, nice but ordinary. With him, it feels like I'm sitting in a closed box where I feel the air and possibilities slipping away. Even the sex is nothing special, not exciting. Last week, after a particularly boring Sunday afternoon, I was reading the paper at Merrick's house while he fixed a broken stair leading up to his boring fifth floor flat. I saw an ad in the paper for restaurant workers in New York City. They want people who are familiar with Chinese food and know how to work hard.
It made me think, you know. Oops. Okay. It made me think, you know, I mean, I work in a restaurant here and I live with my mom, so my expenses are low. So it would seem like it would make more sense to stay put and try to save for the future. And yet, something about that ad really draws me, makes me want to take a chance. I could be working in New York City where a famous agent or actor could see me clearing plates of pork fried rice and just know that I could be the next big thing. I'm excited by the possibility. I know my mom is never going to let me go and be a dishwasher or a waitress somewhere far away when I can do that here. Maybe I won't tell her. Maybe I'll tell her that Merrick got a raise, and so we are taking a vacation to the big city. Or I could tell her that Merrick works at a travel agency part-time and that he won the award for the most sales last year, and so he won a free trip anywhere, and we are choosing New York City. It doesn't really matter what I tell my mom. It just has to be a lie good enough that she'll believe it. I know she wants the best for me, and this just isn't it. I can't breathe here. I have to respond by the 9th of this month. That gives me 6 more days to decide between my mom and Merrick and the life I've known here, and anything that might possibly be in New York City. Who needs 6 days? I'm out of here. Chapter 6, Lily. So I quickly learned that North Florida would not be what I expected. I found myself waking up each morning repeating to myself, Lily, everything is okay.
You love Joshua, and you chose this change. You are not a victim. Josh definitely helped or tried to. He found a website called morethanyoumightthink.com and would send me little clips from its bounty of cultural wonders available for viewing and attending in Hiawassee Springs. Our conversations went something like this. Hey, Lily, I have a great idea. Let's go to the Hiawassee Springs Museum on Thursday night for a sewing group, or we could go to a watercolor class at the local community college this weekend. It might be fun. I'm just going to break in real quick here. And for those of you who don't realize, Lily is the autobiographical Wendi Adelson, okay? And the 2 other girls are, I believe, these trafficking victims that she eventually ends up helping, that she's trying to tell the stories of. Just trying to fill you in on that, in case you aren't aware. Okay, so I'm going to read that paragraph over. Hey, Lily, I have a great idea. Let's go to the Hiawassee Springs Museum on Thursday night for a sewing group, or we could go to a watercolor class at the local community college this weekend. It might be fun. It might have been. I tried. I went to the sewing party, and it turns out you really needed to know how to sew beforehand. I guess that makes sense. Not one to handle free time well, I took a job with the local Immigrants Justice Center of the Big Bend, IJC. Much like other decisions I made once we decided to move to the Panhandle, I'm not sure what inspired the choice. I think my past desires to do some kind of do-gooder law had been squeezed out of me by law firm life. I didn't have a particular interest in immigration or immigrants, but I had heard people on TV and the radio, and my cousin Hal, who unfortunately is a blood relation, rant and rave about illegal immigrants for quite some time. Between you and me, when I signed up for the job, I didn't know the first thing about immigration law. Mainly, I just needed a job to occupy my time, and it was basically the only one available just then. Type A personalities like mine don't really jibe well with free time. Shouldn't we always be doing something?
I had made a good bit of money at the law firm, but we had spent most of my savings on the wedding and the move. I suppose I could have sat around and done absolutely nothing for at least a few months, given the low cost of living in the Big Bend. But 1, I hate it when I don't have anything to do, and 2, Josh still had gobs of loans to pay off from his many years of graduate school. So I sent my resume around and found the first place that would hire me, the IJC. I quickly realized that I would be the only immigration lawyer for a span of about 300 miles providing free legal services. Day 1 proved that while I had gone to law school and had already represented a handful of big, important corporations, I didn't know squat about immigration law, and there wasn't another lawyer around for miles and miles to teach me. So I decided that rather than rely on the IJC's malpractice insurance and just have a go at it, I would sit down during the fabulously free nights that Josh and I had in Hiawassee Springs and just start learning. It definitely took more than a few months to come close to anything I would call competent, but I started to make heads or tails of what legal remedies existed for immigrants who found themselves in North Florida. I was ready for business.
First, I had the drop-ins, the people doing construction around town who saw the shingle we hung outside that read free legal services in English and Spanish and decided our help was in their budget. I met young men of all ages from many different countries in Central and Latin America who just could not get over the gringa who spoke Spanish. No matter how many times I told them that my mom's family was from Argentina and that my maternal grandparents basically raised me while my mom was working, they just could not believe it. I wonder if that's true about Donna Adelson. Let me know in the chat if that's true. Pero eres tan blanquita, but you are so white, they would say. Y también eres tan joven, but you are so young. How could you be a lawyer already? How do you know Spanish again? I cannot overemphasize how much I enjoyed this constant assertion, no matter how false it might be, that I could not possibly old enough to be a lawyer. Some of them were at least 10 years younger than me, but lives lived outside doing construction, picking fruit, chasing dreams on this side of the border. These things harden the shell a bit, make the skin a little less supple. Comparatively speaking, both to my clients and to the rest of the world, I had lived a life of outrageous privilege and unfathomable comfort. My hands have never worked a day of hard labor unless you count the kind that worsens your glasses prescription and gives you that special shade of green pale that only a Caucasian in cold climate toiling in artificial light can achieve. Sure, I billed lots of hours at the firm, but only because I had the luxury to go to law school. 3 years where I did not have to support a family or work outside or alongside dangerous machinery in a meat packing plant or to barely make a go of it.
The closest I had gotten to actual hard work until just about now is the time I had spent volunteering at soup kitchens, where jobs aren't always easy to come by, but are a means of putting food on the table, not the culmination of years of graduate school focused on one's personal academic passions. After I had met with a few clients who spread the word, and word travels faster than a stallion in heat in these here parts, I started receiving many referrals from different organizations in town. One such was the local Mormon church. These folks were really nice and meant well, no question. First, there was Bob. Bob called because his young friend from church, George or Jorge, wanted to become an American citizen and to bring his family over from El Salvador. Bob thought that Jorge might have a claim on citizenship because his family was being threatened by gangs. Now, I have never done an asylum case based on gang threats, but I was excited for the challenge. I set up an interview with Jorge, and Bob showed up with him. I kindly showed Bob to the waiting area, but he persisted. Jorge is my friend, and I want to make sure that you, little lady, are doing everything you can to do right by him, Bob said, as he hooked his thumbs into his worn blue jeans. And I kid you not, he tipped his hat to me as he said the words, little lady. Legal ethics and professional responsibility taught me squat about the practice of law in the Panhandle.
I fought every urge I had to swift kick that Mormon cowboy right in his set of holy plates. Instead, I calmly replied, "Now, Bob, George and Jorge and I are going to have a little talk in Spanish, and I wouldn't want you to feel left out. Just have a seat here by the magazines. Oh, look, we have a copy of the latest Fish and Stream. Enjoy." And with that, I quickly closed the door to the waiting room / porch, turned on the heel of my non-heeled foot, and headed back into my office where Jorge, sweet, non-English speaking Jorge, was patiently waiting. Jorge and I had a good conversation about his life experiences back in El Salvador. He was in a gang for many years, had lots of tattoos with bullets and naked ladies on his arms, and he had done lots of things that he was not proud of at all. Then, in the last year, he snuck across the border, came to Hiawassee Springs, met Bob, and found Jesus. It sure seems like 2004 is a very busy year for Jorge. Given that Jorge spoke no more than 9 words of English, I suppose that he was able to communicate gang to Bob, which Bob must have thought was what George feared. and not what Jorge feared, and not what Jorge was part of. Minor distinction. I kindly explained to Jorge that our funding prevented us from taking on any case in which a client had committed a crime.
He said that he understood, that it was a pleasure to meet me, and gave me a polite kiss on my right cheek, Latin style, and we went to meet Bob in the waiting room. How could you be done already? It's only been 20 minutes, Miss Lily. Bob reeled at the possibility. I think maybe I'd best stay out here a while you and Jorge continue to have a little talk. He stood in the doorway and gave Jorge a little nudge back inside. Bob, I am grateful that you have been such a good friend to Jorge, but he is not going to be my client. He understands and I understand. I will see you around. I kindly, but with just enough gusto, gave them an expedited ushering out the door. Jorge never called again, but Bob called just about every Monday morning after seeing Jorge in church over the weekend, with new possibilities for Jorge's immigration status. Without fail, each Monday, Bob would call and always assume that I knew it was him, which I did. Miss Lily, could Jorge claim asylum because of religious persecution? I explained that unfortunately for Jorge, you had to actually be persecuted on account of your religious beliefs to qualify for asylum based on religious persecution. Crazy, huh? The following Monday, hey, Miss Lily, could I adopt Jorge? Bob asked earnestly and without the slightest bit of humor.
I kindly explained that Jorge was 26 years old and that for immigration purposes, he was too old to adopt in order to change his citizenship. You had to give him credit. This Bob was both kind and creative. I haven't heard from him lately, and sometimes I wonder if it's because he skipped town to go to law school somewhere. Transitions. Chapter 7, Rosa. Miami, Florida, June 8, 2005. Querida Diary. There was so much to say. I am afraid that if I don't write it all down, that I will think everything has been a dream, and I will forget it all. Writing has always been the way that I understand my world. I'm afraid that if I stopped writing, I would lose everything, every last shred of Rosa, and then there would be nothing left. I don't want to forget everything that has happened, but maybe bits and pieces will fade after a while, and that will be okay too. It has been a few months since I last wrote, but it might as well be 10 years. Everything is totally different now. Anna is gone. We are both gone, but Anna is really gone.
Where do I begin? Senora Cuenca arranged for us to have tourist visas, and she decided that it would be easier for everyone if Anna and I wrote Cuenca as our last name on the passports, so that the immigration people would think we are a family and not give us any trouble. At the time, I couldn't believe how nice she was about everything. Apparently, it cost about $4,000 US to bring us both over to Miami, and the Cuencas have paid for everything for us. Their generosity made me want to work even harder for them. Before we left, I had the nicest Navidad together with my family. All of my aunts and uncles and cousins were there, and we played music and danced until 4 a.m. I couldn't stay up and nodded off around 2, but everyone else just kept going. Mommy made all of my favorite food, and we had this beautiful almond cake that Mommy made for everyone, shaped like Florida, to celebrate my big trip to America. Everyone was really proud of me and excited for me. Maria was mostly excited because she won't have to share a room with me anymore, but secretly, I think she'll miss me. Diary, when I write to you now, Navidad seems like a very long time ago. After the celebrations, Anna and I packed our things and got on a very long bus ride from Jujuy to Buenos Aires, which is the capital of Argentina. We stopped a lot, and it took about 2 days to finally arrive. The bus kept breaking down, and we needed to stop every few hours for sodas to pass around the bus. And mate breaks in the afternoon, of course.
We took another bus from the bus station to get to the airport. I wanted to see so much more of Buenos Aires, but it was hard to make out most of it from a bus window, with the city whizzing by at millions of kilometers each minute. Every once in a while, we would stop at a traffic light and I would wave at the people on the street. Anna gave me the window seat. She said she preferred the aisle. Really, though, I think she wanted to show me in little ways how grateful she was to be going on this trip with me. When we finally got to the airport, we were really tired and dirty, but we had a few hours to clean up and prepare for our flight. We had the most fun in the airport bathroom, trying to wash up with the sink soap and then drying off with these machines that turned off on and off and somehow can tell when parts of your body are underneath them. I swear we ran in and out of those machines, splashing water on each other and then drying off for hours. Anna and I had never been on a plane before, and it was amazing. Way more amazing than even those cool dryers in the bathroom. We read through all of the safety materials to ensure that in case of an accident, we would be prepared. The announcements were made first in Spanish, then in English, and I strained to make out a few words in English. Life vest. That one I could tell from context. I practiced each word out loud and committed it to memory. Life vest. I said each word 3 times, and then it became my own, just like Senora Valdez taught me in language class. Emergency exit. That one was accompanied by the flight attendant lady's bizarre hand motion all over the plane.
Anna took out the paper bag in the front of her seat, and 2 minutes later, she had turned it into a frog puppet. Anna always made me laugh so much. Anna, Anna, Anna. Everything is so wrong now. I can still see her, clear as life, in front of my closed eyes. She is laughing, making ribbit sounds with her frog puppet. We were so excited for everything that would come. There was no way for her to know that things would be so terribly different from anything we could have imagined. That plane ride seemed to last forever, but really, it was only about 8 hours long. We realized when the plane touched down that this adventure to America was really going to happen, and we held each other's hands and gave out a little squeal. We couldn't believe our good luck. We unboarded the plane and got ready to see Senora Cuenca again. We bounded off arm in arm, ready to take on America. We got through customs with our rehearsed statements. We said that we were sisters, Anna and Rosa Cuenca, coming to Miami to visit our Aunt Patricia and to help take care of our new baby cousin, Daniela. We had each secured a tourist visa for the trip and would go to school with our cousin, who was our same age. We repeated this story 3 times to the different immigration people and the customs people, and they let us through. Repeat it 3 times, and it's yours.
We passed through. Wait, Solo, what? Membership badges? Huh? Are you saying I don't have membership badges? I thought I did. I will. Sorry. Anyway, sorry. Hold on. All right, I will continue reading now. We passed through a hall of glass windows and saw lots of excited people and were released into the regular airport space. There was a large family of people with skin my color wearing the most beautiful clothing, women with long black wavy hair wearing gold and green, and people holding a sign that said, "Sing." I wanted to tell them that they spelled it wrong. I thought they might want my help. Anna thought better. The crowd of faces of families and friends waiting for everyone that got off the plane was thick with people. I panicked, unsure if I would be able to remember Senora Cuenca. I scanned the crowd once, then twice, and didn't see her. Anna did her best to reassure me with her frog puppet, who she named Prince, but I started to get really scared. What if no one showed up to meet us? We would be all alone in America, Anna and me. Just then, Anna had Prince tug at my arm. "She's right there," Anna shrieked. I still couldn't see her. My eyes scanned the crowds until I saw that signature hairdo. Bingo, except instead of her hair looking stylishly piled on her head, Senora Cuenca looked like she'd just been through a wind tunnel. I'll write more soon, diary. I'm tired for more tonight. Rosa.
Chapter 8, Mila. I left. Just like that. I did it. Well, not just like that. Making a decision is like snapping your fingers. You decide and it's done. The process of carrying out your plans takes longer. The first lie was to my mother that I had a job as an au pair lined up in the States. The second lie was to Merrick that I would be back in 6 months and we would pick up where we left off. I knew then that even if I were back in 6 months, that I couldn't spend one more minute with Merrick. Terribly, awfully nice Merrick with his short, well-behaved hair, clean white t-shirts, and acid wash blue jeans that were suddenly popular in Bratislava, but they probably went out in the 1980s in America. That's where I was going, America. I answered that ad I saw in the paper about the Chinese restaurant. The number linked to a city called Atlanta, which is in the southern part of America. I had never heard of Atlanta before, but the agency reassured me that it was close enough to New York and that I could still visit and go there on my vacations with all the money I would make at the restaurant. The agency in Atlanta said that they would place me with a Chinese restaurant that needed help. They would arrange for my work visa and that I could be on a plane within 2 months. Finger snap of a decision. I said yes. Yes, yes, and yes. I was on my way.
The next 2 months passed quickly. More lies to my mother, more lies to Merrick. My mother was sad about my leaving. She would hold on to me a little. She would hold on to me a little past loving to make a fleeting hug last longer than it should, longer than it could, given that I was already 1 foot out the door. I felt selfish. I know that I was all she had. Other than that stupid job, I couldn't wait to leave. The restaurant was not enough to live for, at least for me. It wasn't enough for a future to sit around waiting for. My mom had already had her time to be young, and this was mine. As long as I could make it to the States, even if it was Atlanta and not New York, it was a step in the right direction. I was headed towards something unknown. I wanted this change, and I needed this change to take my life's direction in my own hands and steer it. I was on my way. The agency paid for my ticket. I would first take the train from Bratislava to Vienna, then fly to London, then Miami, then Atlanta. How I wish that I could stop at each of these places I had never seen. I bet if I could just wander around the big cities like Vienna or London or stroll around in my bikini in Miami, that I would definitely get discovered. Sadly, without that extra time and money, I would have to head straight to Atlanta to the restaurant and begin my real professional life after. I cannot complain, really. The agency also arranged for my housing, a nice apartment right above the restaurant, which was great because apparently Atlanta's public transportation system did not reach the part of the city where the restaurant and the apartment were located.
There I was. I had a ticket, a visa, a place to stay, and a place to work. All that remained were some goodbyes. I worked my last shift at the restaurant on a Saturday night, even though I had a very early flight Sunday morning. Who cared? I could sleep on the planes. I wore something extra low cut for my last shift, despite the weather, hoping for some extra tips from the tourists. I worked alongside my mom, and the time with her, the quick moments of shared grief over a low tip or having her help me rub out a fresh stain caused by a sloppy soup eater felt more special than usual. My mom, the other restaurant workers, and I toasted my last night with the rest of a bottle of red wine that some American tourist had ordered, tasted, drank half the bottle, and then decided it didn't suit his taste. Sigh, Americans, always with so much left over. They use something and then they just want to toss it out with the garbage. Either way, they prefer not to pay. I bid a quick goodbye to my mom and promised to be home soon to spend what was left of our last night together in Bratislava. I took the bus to see Merrick, who, at least for boring Merrick, seemed quite devastated that I was leaving.
You will come back. I will see you in 6 months. Yes, Mila, he said. He said it more like a pleading statement, less like a question, like he already knew that I would rather stay in Atlanta than with him. Merrick, I told you, the visa is only for 6 months. I can't stay a minute longer, even if I wanted to. I know you want to, he said in a weak attempt to look cute. Poor Merrick, with his oversized gaunt head and protruding beak-like nose, just couldn't pull off the cute. I tried to reassure him that I wanted to stay and be with him. It seemed like the right thing to do to lie to him, given his state of sadness. Merrick, though, was a little more intelligent than I gave him credit for. He knew we were over, just as I knew we were over, and after a long, lingering kiss, we hugged goodbye. It felt like saying goodbye to a random classmate for the summer on the last day of school, not caring a bit if you saw them next year. Either way, I was out the door forever. Humming Welcome to Miami by the American musician Will Smith in my head and out loud, I bounded off the bus, skipped down the street, and bolted up the stairs to see my mother. I found her in bed, curled into a fetal position and sobbing softly, her small frame shaking a bit with each cry.
I took off my shoes and, without undressing, molded into her back and firmly placed my arm around her waist. "This is your safety strap, Mom. You always told me safety first." She chuckled despite herself. "Stop that, Mila. Don't you dare make me laugh. I'm sad. I'm allowed to be sad." "Not while I'm still around, and Mom, I'll always be around. Just as soon as I can, I'll be sending money to you and saving more money, and as soon as I can get you to New York, we will start living right. Get some rest, Mila. You have a long day of travel ahead. I love you, my little girl. Close your eyes and sleep." The truth was, I couldn't have slept if I tried. I was way too excited to travel all the way to this place called Atlanta. I knew that when I woke in the morning, I would be on my way to an entirely different life. Chapter 9, Lily. Yesterday, I met with some new clients. The process of interviewing and taking down information from new clients is called intake. During yesterday's intake, I met with some nice people from Iran.
As I sat with my prospective Iranian clients, I was simultaneously dumbfounded and amused. How did this young woman from Tehran, with her aunt translating and mother in tow, end up in Hiawassee Springs, Florida? How did I end up here as well? How did these people and I meet in Hiawassee Springs, of all places, and end up in the same place and time to be having this conversation? I never would have expected it, but this small town is packed with people from all over the world, from many different cultures and religions. If the Wasi exists in a microcosm of the world's population, it really makes me wonder, is there even such a thing as small town anymore? As a corporate lawyer, I never heard the juiciest bits of people's lives. You have to be at a more senior level for that, or have the time or the audacity to bill your clients for minutes stolen reading trashy gossip rags online. Here, I got to hear the tell-all version in real time. When representing immigrant women in divorce cases, I have learned a lot about erectile dysfunction, and while some cultures believe that sport or strong tea might cure this horrible deficiency, it is always more than I would have thought.com all the time. I am really starting to love this job. Other parts of life in Hiawassee Springs I love a little less. Here's an illustrative example of how, for all its richness and human diversity, this place still has lots of small town charm. Yesterday, I got home at a decent hour, and Josh had plans to spend the evening with some other English professors listening to a reading at the Plant, a local hangout for English professors and English majors.
Josh always invited me along on these Tuesday night adventures, but in truth, sometimes I really relish the silence of a little time alone. When you are single, you want to be married to have that special constant companionship. Then you get married and you miss the alone time you used to have too much of. Happy, I guess, is somewhere in the middle. So there I was, relishing some pre-marriage type alone time. I was sitting on our broken, deformed couch, hoping to catch a few minutes of a Gilmore Girls rerun. We had a television that only played 3 channels, and I found what turned out to be one of the first episodes of the Gilmore Girls on TV one afternoon. The reruns were playing every night at 7 p.m. 2 episodes in, and I just couldn't get enough of Lorelai's crazy antics and Rory's sensitive intelligence. I had just sat down on the couch with a bowl full of Thai spiced noodles when I heard a scratching sound in the wall near the base of the couch. The sound was loud, and I thought about it for a bit, but then dismissed the sound as likely coming from our porch, which was adjacent to the wall. In the last 3 days alone, I had seen a rabbit, a squirrel, and a fox right beyond our porch. The scratching sound could have come from any one of those three. Who cares? It was time for my show, and noodles in hand, I turned back to hang out with the girls. Scratch, 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 scratch.
There it was again. Shoot. This demanded some actual attention. I got up from my noodles, the couch, and the girls to inspect the wall. I looked more closely at the wall and discovered that the space in the wood panel wall was more than just a small opening. Yes, indeed, some little critter had gnawed that crack right into a gaping hole. At that moment, I saw some kind of little animal arm crawl right through the breach. I freaked. 202-553-4223. I pressed Josh's number quickly into the phone. Then I panicked some more. We still had our DC area cell phones. I have no idea why. We weren't moving back to DC anytime soon, but we couldn't bring ourselves to get rid of the DC connection, as if it somehow proved that this Hiawassee Springs idea was just a small stop on the way back to what we had previously known as civilization, the land before unidentifiable and animalia in our walls. Josh, please, please, please pick up. I got nothing, just a voicemail. I then begrudgingly tried to phone the owners of our guest house. Again, voicemail. I left them a message. Jeannie, this is Lily Walker Stone with Joshua Stone. The tenants from next door. There's some kind of small animal crawling its way into my wall. I'm okay, just a little freaked out. Any idea what I should do? Please call back if you can. Thanks. I hung up from what was the strangest message I had ever left for anyone to date.
At this point, I would be negligent if I didn't go into a little more detail about Josh's and my living situation. You see, Josh and I didn't have a ton of time to plan our arrival in Hiawassee Springs. We met, fell in love, married, and moved to the Wassee faster than some people decide whether to have chicken or fish for dinner. Each of our many decisions, whether to marry, when, where to move, etc., felt, well, instantaneous. With 3 weeks before our move to the South, we hadn't yet taken the time to look for a place to live. So accustomed we were to just finding a place quickly in a big city, we hadn't thought it might be difficult. When we finally had the time, we tried Craigslist. There it was. Nice family seeks nice couple to occupy guest house for 1 semester stint. Prices negotiable, people are reasonable. Josh called right away and negotiated a rent, sight unseen. That was less than a third of what either of us had paid individually to live in DC. He mentioned that the woman he spoke to, Jeannie Pitchy, which she clarified is correctly pronounced as Pushy, not Peachy, seemed very nice and convinced him that we would enjoy living in our house. She had 2 horses, a pony named Macaroni, and 5 dogs. Josh had an upcoming meeting at the university, so he decided to check out our digs and give me the lowdown.
Josh, being a man of written words rather than verbal statements, sat down to write me an email about his experience at Jeannie Pitchy's compound. My dear Lily Billy Goat, I promised you our life would be an adventure, right? Well, here goes. The guest house is adorable, cozy, like a nice writer's cottage. It reminds me of my grandparents' country house in Montreal. There is running water, a big kitchen, and a beautiful view of the great outdoors. It isn't a palace by any means, but I do think we'll be happy there, at least for 1 semester until we have time to find you the home of your dreams, or at least your Hiawassee Springs dream home. All my love, Joshie Cito. My sweet Joshua, always one to woo with words, left out some crucial details about our new abode. I will bullet them for you, the reader, in no particular order of repulsiveness for your ease and reading pleasure. My God, Wendi, you are so oozing with anger and vitriol. Sorry, here we go. Bullet 1. Jeannie is married to a large man named Stuart. For some reason is called Joe C. When said fast, it sounds like his name is Josie. which is a woman's name where I come from. Josie is a recovering sex addict who needs structure to maintain emotional equilibrium.
To achieve this structured environment, Josie enjoys woodworking, which I suppose is another attempt to replace the other work with his hands, which got him into trouble with the neighbor's teenage daughter, Molly May. While Josie enjoys all kinds of woodwork, he is most fond of right angles. For some reason, they quell those illicit sex cravings like none other. For obvious reasons, I avoid Josie. Cockroach fecal matter covers every available surface in the house, especially the kitchen area. At first, I wasn't quite sure what all those black squishy dots were. I asked Jeannie one day, and she said, "Sure as all get go, those are either mouse or cockroach droppings. I am not entirely sure, but I think I would have preferred a third option." On 3 separate occasions, I had a cockroach fly into my ear while I was trying to sit and enjoy some quality family programming on the television. You may try to argue with me that, "Hey, Lily, cockroaches don't fly." You may be right. I'm not a bug specialist or anything, but I do know this. There is something that looks like a cockroach, has wings and flies, and it has flown into an orifice on my head a total of 3 times. Here, they call these critters palmetto bugs, and they are the size of a deck of cards. Call them what you will, but they are every bit as unpleasant as they sound. Love conquers all. Josh and I still managed to find some charm in our writer's cottage, despite the drawbacks. After we had been living there for 4 months and diligently looking for a more permanent and less infested place to live, the darndest thing happened. There was this scratching.
I was sitting on the couch one day taking in a little Gilmore Girls when all of a sudden I heard a scratching sound. You heard that part. Well, after I called Josh and Jeannie and didn't get an answer, I started looking around the house for something to defend myself with, should the animal show its dirty paws. I managed to gather together a Frisbee, a metal soup ladle, and a heavy box. Don't ask me what I thought I was going to do with that combination, but I re-entered the living room, ready for combat. Just then, battle regalia in hand, Jeannie and Josie's 2 young boys pounced through my front door, blabbering about their mom having sent them over and scrambling over themselves to be the first to see the beast in the wall. "Sit quietly," I told them in my most convincing, stern voice. "I promise you we'll hear something scratchy very soon." They complied, and all of 15 seconds later, they heard their first scratch, scratch, scratch. They jumped and squealed like the 10-year-old boys they were. Peter and Yoshi were not twins, although they were both born in November 10 years previously. Yoshi Pishi is the Pishi's biological son that they raised from birth.
Peter Peachy was Yoshi's best friend from pre-kindergarten, and he had lost both his parents in a tragic car accident when he was 4 years old. Peter was an only child at the time, and the court agreed to let him live with the Peachys. The boys, though biologically not from the same genetic material, might as well have been cloned at birth for how well they got on together. The Peachys had 4 kids in addition to Yoshi and Peter, but only the twins and an older and unfortunately strange 17-year-old son named Deacon still live at home. I hear it, Peter and Yoshi screamed in delight in unison, the same way they made their way through life. At that point, Deacon entered, looking bored per usual. He had clearly been sent by the parents to check in on their city girl guest house tenant. "Yeah, great guys, you hear the animal," Deacon remained unimpressed. "Miss Lily, do you think we should scream real loud to make it come out of the wall?" Peter asked. "Or it might have been Yoshi who inquired. They really sounded alike. Either way, not important." At that moment, Josie entered the room, his corpulent midsection flopping and exposed, fresh from a jog or playing with the horses. It wasn't entirely clear from the smell.
I venture that Josie may have been jogging because he was shirtless, shellacked with sweat, his largeness packed but like a sausage into very tiny black shorts with the requisite long white socks and sneakers. "Let's see what we have going on here," Josie Josie bellowed as he sauntered into the room and leaked puddles of perspiration en route into the origin of the scratching. Josie then proceeded to get down on one sweaty knee, peer down into the hole that the mystery animal had gnawed into the wall, and noticed some fecal matter below the opening. He then pinched a sizable amount of feces between his thumb and index finger, rolled it around scientifically to check its consistency, and declared, "Yes, sirree, this here definitely came from a rodent." Wow, is all I can say. Mystery solved. What? Not a moment passed before Jeannie Peachy came in, carrying an unopened box of mothballs. She did so with such nonchalance that it seemed as if everyone keeps a ready box of mothballs next to the sugar bowl just in case such a situation should arise. "This should do it, Miss Lily. Where's your masking tape?" Jeannie asked as she simultaneously poked around the house. I hated to tell her that since we had opened all our boxes in Hiawassee Springs and not repackaged any, we were fresh out of mothballs and masking tape. How in the world did we survive?
Jeannie sent Yoshi back to their house. He returned with the masking tape, and we began plugging the hole, but only after we shoved it full of enough mothballs to make it smell like 16 of your grandmother's old winter coat closets. "Isn't this cruel?" I asked, wondering about the poor little varmint holed up in the wall. Jeannie wasn't the slightest bit concerned. "Miss Lily, I saw the proudest looking mama squirrel on your porch the other day, and I just know she is using that there wall to make her babies. I have seen her come in and out, so I know she has another exit. This blockade here will just keep her from using your living room for an exit. Sound good?" I wasn't exactly sure what would possibly sound good about the idea of rodents birthing and rearing in my wall, but from somewhere deep inside, the animal lover in me replied, "Sounds good, Jeannie. Just glad they have a way back out." Chapter 10, Rosa, Miami, Florida, June 19th, 2005.
Querida diary. Querida diary. Where was I? Oh, right. Anna and me had just arrived and seen the Cuencas at the airport. So let me just stop here. And for those of you who aren't, so what we just heard was the autobiographical version of Wendi Adelson and her story about her and her now murdered autobiographical husband. And their story of them, living in Hiawassee Springs, where she obviously hates it. And the reason we're reading this book is because it has the judge has just declared that parts of this book can be used in Donna Adelson's trial, which also means that if and hopefully when Wendi Adelson gets charged and tried, that this book can also be used. So that's why I got so interested in reading it. These other parts of the book with the Anna and the Rosa are the stories of these immigrants who apparently get sold into trafficking somehow. And we're going to obviously find out how. And since the Lily character has become an immigration lawyer in Hiawassee, apparently they're going to all hook up and she's going to try to help them. And this is apparently Wendi Adelson's victim, murdered husband, Jeff. He's the one who talked her into writing this book in this way. She was just going to write this book as a memoir of how she was so wonderful in helping these women, but he talked her into writing it as a fiction story. So that's why it's so important. So anyway, I just wanted to stop there and explain that for anybody who didn't quite understand all of that. All right, I'll start this part over. Now we're reading one of the trafficking victims' portions. Querida diary, where was I? Oh, right. Anna and me had just arrived and seen the Cuencas at the airport. Senora Cuenca came over to Anna and I and greeted us traditionally, one kiss on each of our right cheeks. She introduced us to Senor Cuenca and said we would meet her teenage son, Martin, back at the house that night. Anna and I continued to hold hands, squeezing each other excitedly, but still trying to play it cool as we dragged our heavy bags and followed the Cuencas toward their car. I remember looking around the parking lot and my eyes rested on a shiny black Mercedes I just knew must be the Cuenca's car. Instead, they directed us to a car that probably used to be red, but most of the paint had peeled off. It looked old. It was hot in the car, and with the windows down, we couldn't hear much. So Anna and I just sat through the 15-minute ride back to the Cuenca's house in excited silence, buzzing with what might be. And another one quick thought, context I want to tell you is that this particular girl who's telling this story, her and her friend had to win a contest in order to get this trip to America. So that's very sad. Okay, I'll continue. We got to the house and the Cuencas immediately showed Anna and me where we could sleep. They had put 2 sleeping bags on the carpeted floor in the room next to the laundry room. It wasn't grand, but we were too excited to notice. They told us to shower and gave us uniforms to wear, and we changed and headed to the restaurant. We arrived at the restaurant and learned that we would work in the kitchen, cleaning and cutting vegetables and meats, and then when we got really good at those tasks and learned more English, we would be able to work with the customers out front.
It was all too much to take in, especially after our very long trip. We worked for a few hours and then headed back to the house with Martin. He is 17. He took sharp turns with the not red car, smoked a cigarette out the window, and well, he is really good looking. Anna and I exchanged glances, saying with our eyes that we both noticed how cute our new cousin was. He didn't seem to notice we existed in the back seat, other than when he argued with the other drivers and yelled bad words at them. He gestured toward the back seat to look for our agreement. He didn't understand much of why he was so angry with we didn't understand much of why he was so angry at the other drivers, but we quickly nodded in agreement with whatever he said. We went back to our rooms and fell into a deep sleep. The following morning, we were woken up at 5 a.m. to help clean the house and to help make breakfast for Martin and Senor Cuenca before we all went to the restaurant. Anna and I worked all day, only stopping for some toasted bread around 3 p.m., and then back to work. The other workers kept to themselves, and we passed most of the day in silence. The days continued like that, and after a few days, I asked Senor Cuenca when we were going to go to school and register for classes. She looked surprised at my question, told me that I had a lot of nerve asking her such a question after all that she had done for us. She told me I can't go to school right now because it costs so much to bring me from Jujuy to Miami, and that I need to work to pay it off. There is so much to pay for. Our bus tickets, our plane tickets, our passports, our food, our place to stay, in the house, the gas Martin uses to take us back from work.
Everything is so expensive in America. She listed it all for me, and it's a lot of money that the Cuencas have laid out to make this experience happen for Anna and me. I don't want to seem ungrateful, but I didn't have any idea that it would cost so much money, that it would take such a long time to earn, that I would need to pay it back before I could start school again. And so the days continued like that, each day the same as the next, except Sundays, when we were permitted to go to church, and thankfully there was a mass in Spanish so we could understand the words and sing along to the hymns. One night, during the usual life-threatening rides home with Martin, he started to speak to us. Well, he started to speak to Anna, really. He asked her if she had a boyfriend. She smiled, averted his eyes, and sweetly and sincerely told him no. She had never had a boyfriend. Neither of us had. We were not those kinds of girls. Anna already turned 14, but I am still 13 and not permitted to have boyfriends. Bye for now, Rosa. Some things are too personal even for the diary. Some things I don't want other people to know. It's too hard. I'm so embarrassed that I was really jealous at first. I even remember a few nights when I woke up and saw that Anna wasn't sleeping next to me. I looked at the clock on the wall and waited 10 minutes for her to come back from the bathroom. When she didn't come back, I explored the house to find her.
I didn't want to wake the Cuencas, so I tiptoed as quietly as possible. After checking a few doors, I entered Martin's room. He had Anna in his bed, and they were moving around under the covers, and I heard her whimper. She sounded like the stray dogs in our old neighborhood when the mean little boys would corner them and pelt them with rocks. She didn't sound happy. I called her name, and she told me to go away. She said it calmly, but finished with more whimpering. I waited up for her and heard her when she crawled into bed. Our sleeping bags were pressed next to each other, but I put mine closer to the wall. She had already made such a large space between us, putting Martin in the middle. I felt betrayed. I can see now why that was silly, but I didn't understand then. I didn't know that she didn't want to be with him. I only started to figure it out later that night, early in the morning, actually, when Anna went to take a shower. And Martin came to my bed, took out a switchblade, and held it tight against my neck. One word about Anna, you stupid little bitch, and I will slit your throat. He pulled so hard on my long jet black hair that a few strands came loose and a little blood appeared at the scalp. And then he let me go with one last tug, and I curled into a ball, too stunned to cry, too scared to move. I was so scared to even talk to Anna about it. I didn't know what to do. I spent the next few days in a daze, going through the motions of work and sleep.
Without
feeling truly awake. Sorry, it didn't change right away on my side. Without feeling truly awake. Yeah.
I had thought that Anna was a virgin like me. We were only 13 and 14, and we had been told to save ourselves for marriage. It was a sin to have sex before marriage, and Anna was not a sinner. She was a good girl from Jujui like me. I couldn't believe what she was doing with Martin. Sure, he was handsome, but he seemed dangerous, and I thought she wasn't that kind of a girl. Anna never told me about everything that happened with Martin, and we spoke less and less every day. Several months passed. I lost track. I wonder if maybe she blamed me for helping her win the contest that brought her to the United States. It didn't seem like such a great prize now. I woke up when she left our room every night for Martin, and on the nights that she did not leave herself, he came to get her, roughly grabbing her by the arm and dragging her with him. I would wake up when Anna came back in too, and she would walk a little bent over and crumble into her bed. I knew something was wrong, but I was scared to talk to her about anything anymore. I felt so lonely in that house, and the loneliness sat there like a sneaky cat in the room at night when Anna wasn't there to be my friend and confidant anymore. A few months later, Anna vomited while we were making breakfast. I told her if that she were sick, maybe she could go back to bed and wouldn't have to work. She asked Senora Cuenca when she got up, but La Senora refused. She told us that we weren't paid to be sick. We were paid to work. Anna asked her, are we getting paid?
I remember that moment perfectly, painfully. Senora Cuenca slapped Anna in the mouth and told her that we are costing her a good bit of money that we had already, and that we are paid every day as we work off our debt. Senora Cuenca said that we would see the money in time, but that every day, with our eating lots of food and using the electricity and the shower, we were costing her more money. One night, when we were getting ready for bed, I saw Anna's naked body as she slipped into her nightgown. She was always thin, and her arms and legs were thinner than ever. Her belly, on the other hand, had a noticeable convex shape, curving outward like she had swallowed a pumpkin. How I miss those pumpkin empanadas straight from the oven, so much tastier than the fried ones that Maria preferred. Her stomach looked just like one of those delicious treats, and I almost went to her then. She was pregnant. I had no idea how far along, but definitely, unmistakably, with child. She saw me looking then and immediately turned away. Anna, I said, unable to form the words to say anything more. Don't, Rosa, you'll just make it worse. She spoke to the floor when she did speak, always this way now. I hadn't heard her laugh in longer than I could remember. We laid down in silence, snuggled in our sleeping bags, palms touching each other. and we both wept quietly.
I cried for many reasons. I cried because I was lonely. I missed mommy and even Maria. I missed school and our friends and my home and everything. Touching her hand, I realized how much I had been missing Anna. The door opened a crack and we sped apart, knowing it was Martin and not wanting him to see us interact. She groaned to her feet and I heard her steps on the floor as she walked toward his room. Just like that, she was gone. I fell asleep at some point and at some point I remembered hearing a muffled scream, but I could have been dreaming. I was having a bad dream about boys in Jujui that brought guns into a primary school and were holding all the children hostage. Later, I remember hearing Anna stumble into the room, get into her sleeping bag, and go to sleep. At 5 a.m. that morning, just like every other morning, I woke up to our alarm. Anna didn't get up. She was harder and harder to wake every morning. I wasn't sure if it was because she was pregnant or because she spent half the night awake in Martin's bed, but she had a much harder time waking up for work than I did. I called her name. I nudged her. I coaxed her into the day. That didn't work. I knelt down next to her and squeezed her hand. It was cold.
Chapter 11, Mila. Atlanta. It sounded exotic. Atlanta. I think the name sounded so exciting because it reminded me of Atlantis. I actually did picture it next to the sea, which I knew wasn't true, just from a quick glance at the map. Still, I liked imagining that it was more Atlantis and less like a sprawling city. My mom always said that I have a great imagination. I think it's going to help me in my acting career. I will probably only have to work for a few months to have enough money saved to get me to New York City, where things will finally happen for me. I feel like I've been waiting for my life to start. My mother always tells me that I am impatient. Of course I am impatient. Look where all that patience got her, spending her whole life in Slovakia, working in that stupid restaurant. It's not for me. I know how to work hard and I will do it. I just finished my first week of work. It's not as bad as it could have been for someone who didn't already know their way around a restaurant. I had a few days to settle in and meet some of the other workers in the restaurant before I started in. It's a little like the United Nations here without the translators. There were about 25 of us living above the restaurant. It's cramped, to say the least. I share a room with five other women, 3 of whom speak Spanish, so I guess they could be from Spain or wherever, but I don't really know for sure. There's one girl in the room from the Ukraine, she said, and she seems about my age, but again, we don't speak the same language, so all we can really do is just smile at each other.
Still, somehow, I feel like she and I might become friends. Just the same, I'm grateful to have a place to live. It's actually really expensive to live in Atlanta, even when I'm sharing a room with 5 other girls. I don't know exactly how much it costs, but Chico says he will just add the cost of the rent to the amount I already owe him for my visa and travel to Atlanta. Chico is the owner of the restaurant where we work. Well, he co-owns it with his brother, Jose, but it seems like Chico calls the shots. Chico is definitely the more charming of the two. He has dark hair that he wears a little long on top and slicked back, kind of like Al Pacino in Scent of a Woman, but just the hair, I mean, because Chico doesn't have trouble seeing. He has tanned, muscled arms that he usually shows off in tight-fitting white t-shirts with a tattoo of some kind of Asian symbol on his arm that makes him look tough and sexy. He likes to wear black pants and shiny shoes and carries himself like he's always heading somewhere important and potentially dangerous. He reminds me of a Latin James Dean. He is gruff speaking, but not with me. He has been nothing but gentle to me since we met. The restaurant where we all work is called Hunan Palace, but the only Chinese people involved with the whole business are the 9 waitresses and 1 chef. Most everyone else is Hispanic or Spanish speaking, save for Katerina, the Ukrainian girl, and me. We are learning more Spanish than English, which suits me fine because my English is already very good. So now I'm on my way to being trilingual.
The work at the restaurant is somewhat familiar, probably because I am already accustomed to hard work at a restaurant. It is definitely harder to get through the 18-hour shifts without my mom, and harder to do all the work behind the scenes instead of waiting tables. I never realized how much I liked the attention from all the tourist boys, even though they drove me crazy. It gave me a chance to act. Here at Hunan, I spent the last week totally behind the scenes, cutting and peeling fruits and vegetables, dealing with raw meat, which is, well, really gross. I don't want to complain, though, because I chose this work, I chose this change, and at worst, it will be 6 months of work before I head back to Mom and maybe to Merrick. Poor Merrick. I am sure I will have forgotten about him before these 6 months go by. There are 2 bathrooms for the 25 of us in the apartment, which is not great. I can make do for now, but I do wonder what will happen when my time of the month comes around. I just hope that none of us gets sick and has to occupy the bathroom. There could be a riot. Not really, I guess. Everyone seems to get along really nicely. Still, I would be lying if I said that I didn't miss my mother, because I do. I miss working alongside her, each of us carrying dumplings, calling in orders, spinning around each other, balancing large trays of hot food. We were a great team, especially as I got older, and she treated me more like a friend, a confidant. In a couple of days, I will try to get enough money for calling cards so that I can hear her voice and reassure her that I am okay.
I had to break down finally and tell her where I was. That morning, before I left to catch the train, I told her the truth, sort of. I told her that I was going to America to try my hand at acting. But Mila, how will you live if they don't hire you? She worried out loud. She held my hands in hers, and we sat down together on the worn green comforter, shabbily covering the double green bed we shared. Mother, do not worry. Haven't you always told me how pretty I am with my long blonde hair and sparkling green eyes? I batted my eyelashes flirtatiously at her and flipped my straight hair, my straight hair, shiny and thick, always the envy of my classmates and the joy of the dumpling eating tourists. That move usually did the trick. It didn't that time, though. My mother's chin quivered convulsively while she tapped her left foot like she had shaky leg syndrome. That combination always meant one thing: uncontrollable emotion was afoot. She didn't cry, although I could tell she was on the verge, and if the waterworks started, there would be no end. Instead, my mother pulled herself together quickly, as if she knew that when she cries, I tend to shut off. It's a terrible thing to watch a parent cry, and for some reason, my childish response has always been to harden my heart against the pain, count to 10, and to think of acting out the role of spoiled kids I've seen in movies and the ways they treat their American parents.
Mila, my love, I am serious. How will you survive on your good looks alone? I know that you are smart. Please don't go. You will stay. You will go to university. We will find a way to pay for your tuition. We will find a way to do something better. I have tried for you. I have tried and tried and tried, and please don't go. Please, my sweet Mila, please don't go. I guess she couldn't help herself. She started to sob, and that quickly turned into yelling and begging, and, well, none of it did any good. I mean, I thought about it for a second. Her cries and pleadings definitely tore at my heart, but I didn't let it show. I kept the emotion and the indecision inside for the benefit of both of us. I didn't want her to think that I could be convinced that maybe it wasn't a good idea to go to the US. I am 18 years old already. It is time for me to find my own way, do my own thing, get out and see the world. It would have been so much easier to stay in Bratislava, but also harder in a way. I would have spent every day wondering, what if, and I don't want to live my life that way. Mom, you've always told me that I can make you laugh, that I am a natural-born actress. You didn't bring me into this world to shut me into a little box and let me suffocate. I am a beautiful bird with big wings that need to stretch, or I'll just die here. In my little box, I'll die. I raised a dramatic hand to my head and tried my best Southern accent from America that I had seen in Steel Magnolias, this movie from the 1980s.
It worked. She finally laughed. Still, it was an uneasy laughter, and I doubt she was truly convinced. Okay, I think we can stop here. Man, this book is an emotional roller coaster. I'm gonna have to read the I didn't read the reviews on this. I tried to read the like Amazon reviews, but there really weren't many. I wasn't reading this book for the quality of it. I was reading this book because of the the relevance to the Adelson case. But you have the chapters of her talking about her life, and she is so at turns she is self-deprecating, but also completely fucking full of herself, right?
Right.
And she is so seethingly, begrudgingly angry at moving to this horrible place that she moved to for this man, right?
Right.
And then you hear about these. It appears as though these two Mexican girls, quote unquote, win this contest, and now they've finally gotten to was it Miami? And then they were, this is a very typical trafficking story. 4.5 out of 5 stars. Is that what it is, Sharon? Interesting. So it's a very typical, millions of people get roped into trafficking in the same way. We'll give you a job, and then it's not and then you have to pay us back. You have to work your way. You have to work your way into paying us back for all the money we spent to get you here. And then they become working slaves. And they say, we are paying you by your payment is us having immigrated you here. And of course they're not legal, so they're not documented, so they always have to hide them, and then eventually sometimes they put them into sex trafficking, right? And now it sounds like one of the girls has died, right?
Yeah.
And so we have this, begrudging Florida life that this, Wendy's autobiographical character has taken up in Florida, and she's going to become the savior for these immigration victims, it sounds like. And I'm really curious about how this all comes together. But you go from her, trauma of having a rodent in the wall, right?
Such a trauma.
A trauma that probably every citizen who's ever lived in a rural area has dealt with.
She's so entitled.
Yeah. And then there was the whole passage about the cockroach feces everywhere on the walls, and that cracked me up, because there's a true crime creator who they claim that there's cockroach feces on her cupboards, and I've never figured out, how does cockroach feces get on people's cupboards? But now maybe Wendi Adelson has helped us figure it out. It's from the flying cockroaches.
Oh, okay. Well,
The kind that flew into her face.
right. Into her ear.
Yeah. 3 times that are the size, they have flown into poor Wendi Adelson's face.
Right.
Right. So
Poor
it's
thing.
like I do truly feel like this book was her just wanting to get out her feelings about her horrible life living in Hiawassee, or wherever, Tallahassee. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And do you think that, the way that she's sort of written about herself as Lily, right? That she meant it to come off the way that it's actually coming off, this sort of, privileged person who comes to, this panhandle Florida town that's kind of hick, and, she's feeling quite out of place, and she's coming off really entitled.
Yeah.
Okay.
You mean Wendi?
Yeah, Wendi. Yeah,
The
that she,
autobiographical Wendi.
yeah,
Yeah.
that she meant to portray herself.
Well, I think what I'm hoping, yes, the cat lady. The book is. Hold on one moment. I have to clear my throat. This book is called "This Is Our Story." Thank you, Sharon. It's written by Wendi Adelson, but it's a fiction book, but it has just been admitted into it. So Wendi Adelson is a member of the Adelson family, and her mother, Donna Adelson, is about to go to trial for the murder of Dan Markel. And there are already 4 people serving prison sentences for the murder for hire plot of Dan Markel. Okay. So I think I still have the pictures here. This is the family. So this murder for hire happened in 2014. Charlie Adelson is the most recent person to get convicted for this murder for hire plot. Wendi Adelson was Dan Markel's wife. They got divorced, and they were in a very bitter custody battle. She didn't win. She didn't get her way. And part of the issue was that they lived in 2 different completely parts of the huge state of Florida. And he got his way. And the Adelson family plotted to have him murdered, and he was murdered, or at least that's the allegation. And he was murdered by these 2 guys who were connected to the Latin Kings. And it was the Adelson family who paid for it. So Charlie Adelson has now been convicted of this. And so have the people that he funneled money to. Now Donna Adelson is going on trial for it in June. She's in her 80s, this woman, or maybe she's 80 now. Even though she's a horrible person, and I do believe that she's guilty, I kind of feel sorry for her being in prison right now, or jail. It just feels really weird to have this like super old lady in jail. And then Wendi Adelson, people are just kind of waiting for Wendi Adelson to get charged. I'm going to join you in your chat on this. Should be interesting. Sounds almost that Shanna Gardner husband was killed by her. Yeah, I haven't followed Shanna Gardner, but there isn't. I think you're right. There's a couple other murder for hire situations that have piqued my interest as well. Because this is basically like gangland style murder, from a family. It's like, it's so crazy. It's just so crazy. So anyway, that's the situation. Now, what I'm kind of hoping with this book, what I'm kind of hoping, I'm always wanting to give people the benefit of the doubt, right? And what I'm hoping is that this clearly very self-centered, I don't know, bitchy, that's a terrible word for it. I don't know, self-centered, entitled, spoiled brat of a author.
I think bitchy is good. I think it fits.
I'm hoping that at the end she comes around to realizing that, like, through her interaction with these victims, she comes around to understanding how entitled and how great her life is there in Hiawassee. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
That she interacts with these victims, she helps them, she sees how horrible their life has been, and that she's had it pretty damn good, you know. That happens to me all the time. Like, you know, at the beginning of this stream, I told you, like, sometimes I just can't complete a video because it just hurts me so much to even just think about it or talk about it. And a lot of the times it's because, like, sometimes I wake up and I'm feeling depressed, and when I see what other people are going through, it just opens my eyes to, man, I've had such an amazing life, and my life is so incredible, especially compared to what other people are going through today. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
it just humbles me. It humbles me.
That's the phrase. Yes.
It really does. Hey, Shift, thank you. It really does humble me. And, you know, like I feel such great anger toward people like Lori Vallow, you know, who do the things that they do to people. And, you know, or you know, even like a Wendi Adelson, who probably did plot with her family to have her husband murdered. You know, taking her husband, or taking the father of her children away from them, you know. So yeah, and so for those of you who weren't here at the beginning of the stream, Lori Vallow's trial is coming up this week. We also got Karen Reed's trial starting this week. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
It's going to be a crazy trial week. And then we got more, and then there's so much stuff going on from a trial perspective with a lot of these cases. And eventually I'm looking forward to doing I Told You So videos about Brian Koberger. You know, because I just think, you know, I just think there's a lot of I told you so's. I think there's a lot of I told you so's to be had. I think he's guilty as fuck, but but you know, I'm willing to be wrong, but I just think he's guilty as fuck. So
it's hard to, well, from what we know, it's hard to see it any other way given the evidence and you know, all of the evidence that has surfaced. But you know, I don't know, there's something that I feel like there's still something else that hasn't been revealed yet. I don't know what that is.
I'm sure there's so much more. I think they're just dribbling it out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I feel so bad for the victims' families that they just have to sit here and, you know, and
go through all this. I know.
Until the trial is just so.
It's so horrible. It is horrible.
I wish I didn't feel so much for other people.
You know? You do have a very high level of feeling.
It really does get to me when I see people, when I see like the Gonsalves family crying or just on the screen, just seeing them on the screen. Oh, and Sandra, Rosa gave an interview recently and said that, you know, so that is Shanann Watts' mom.
Oh, right.
And she gave an interview in the Daily Mail recently. I'm not going to break it out right now. But she said that, like, even, you know, after all that armchair detective stuff and, you know, they won that lawsuit, you know, people threw bricks through their house, through their window. I mean, they still get freaking harassment. I mean, it's just, this, it just gets to me. The fact that people, people who are true crime victims and their families, none of them asked to be public figures. None of them asked to be public figures. But then fucking social media treats them like they chose it, and then they get treated like shit. It just so gets to me. It gets me so bad. It really does. Like, it probably gets to me more than it should. I don't know.
Well, there are a lot of bad people out there.
Yeah.
It's why I never leave my house. I'm sort of kidding about that, but
well, it's a good thing that like I shouldn't say a good thing, but for people who don't want to leave their house, the pandemic came along to create all these delivery services,
right?
There's a whole to make it regular,
No, a whole new ecosystem, right? It's I never had my groceries delivered before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then obviously we were all sort of doing that. And I never gave it up after that.
I think
it became, it's like, well, why I don't need to spend, an hour and a half going to the grocery store when I can just, take my phone and place an order in 5 minutes. And I'm paying more for it, but what is my time worth that? Sorry, my dog's barking. I'm going to put myself on mute, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah. People are just horrible. They'll find ways to mistreat people, like, these families, and throwing bricks through their windows. They probably feel, is this ever going to end?
They're just looking for other places for their misplaced anger, and they need
yes,
need to do for people who are already down. It's just so sick, man.
And I think people are a whole lot more angry than they ever used to be. There's so many things going on, and I think social media contributes to this, which is really interesting, because that's, I think, how I first found you, Lynn. You were talking about oh gosh, what was the film, that the social media dilemma, right?
The Social Dilemma. Yeah.
The Social Dilemma. Yeah. That there's so much there that, we still, Anyway, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here, but
no, you're right. You're right. I don't talk about as much about that stuff on this channel.
I know. Yeah. We'll leave it there.
Just so I don't get myself in trouble.
Right.
But hey, Sharon, does Sandra still do her cooking videos? I didn't know. I know she did them for a while, and then I felt like she stopped doing her cooking videos. But Shanann used to do cooking videos,
right?
Oh, she does. Oh, that's awesome, actually, because I love her type of cooking. Her type of cooking is awesome because she's Italian. But I know she doesn't just do Italian cooking. So I'm going to have to go back to her channel and check it out, because I think that's awesome. Well, I think we should close it out. And actually, so next week, we're going to have to play next week by ear. I'm supposed to be out of town on Sunday, but I might change it. So I might do this on Saturday, but just keep an eye out, because I might have to so we're just go ahead, give her channel name. Actually, isn't it I can find it. What's her channel? Put her channel name in chat, and then I'll find. Blaze Fairchild. My son has hired so many IT people for good wages. After a week or two, they asked to work from home. There are work from home jobs. If not, they quit. Interesting. That's definitely a post-pandemic phenomenon, for sure. For sure. Yes, Sharon, you could give her a channel name and I'll maybe even share her link in the chat here. But I forget. Let's see. Yeah. Sandy. Okay, let me actually share her link here. So I one time, yeah, here it is. One time I made a video on my first YouTube. Here is her channel link. One time like one of my first videos I made about the Watts on my first true crime channel, there was a comment from a Sandra Onorati, and I had no idea it was her. It was a kind comment, and I had no idea it was her. And then later I went back and I was like, oh, that was Shanann's mom. Interesting. The other day, Chris Proudfoot said that I have a great show, which was a nice thing. I didn't know he even
wow.
Didn't know he noticed. So that was nice. You know, I don't do these things to get the notice of the victims.
Right.
I really don't. I don't contact them. I don't do what I do to pander, but it's nice to be noticed. You know what I mean? It is nice. So
you do good work, Lynn.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I really appreciate, as you know, you joining me. I appreciate all of you in the chat, all of my commenters. Thank you, Sharon. I appreciate that. And thank you for the gifted memberships earlier, Jinx, and for those of you who joined. And we'll be here at some point in the future. And you're welcome, the cat lady. And have a lovely, lovely rest of your day, everybody. Bye, Cinnamon Girl.
Bye.